let's start the stream.
See, I am very, I don't want to say hard on myself. I have very high standards when it comes to singing. So I know when, here's the note and I'm just below it. I'm like, okay, most people might not catch that, but I know it and that bugs me.
Well, this is the start of the podcast. Welcome to the Buns Thighs podcast. It's a personal trainer and company production. We're going to throw some ads your way after we introduce ourselves. My name is Tim.
And I'm Duncan.
And this is our podcast. We talk about fitness and other things, meaning not fitness, and some of it's just randomness. One of the things I'd like to mention before the podcast starts officially is that I have created a new product line of PDF workout plans for losing fat, gaining muscle. That's one of them. That's the best seller, actually. The next best seller is the at-home no gym workout. So if you don't have a gym and you're wanting to gain muscle, and this will actually make you gain muscle, it's not just yoga, which yoga has its perks, well, it has its perks, has its stuffs, but this will actually have you gain size without any equipment except for like arbitrary stuff like a water gallon or things that you already have in your house, like a broomstick, things like that. And thank you for the follow. So yeah, that's one of the ones. And another one I'm actually creating for somebody that's getting ready for the military, and it's the special forces. And so that's one. And then the fourth one is the bodybuilding symmetry. So if you're looking for pure hypertrophy, if you're not worried about strength and you're trying to do mass, that is also one. So if you go to personaltrainerandcompany.com/workouts, or you can just go to the homepage and there's a workout little button midway down. So this is the start of the podcast. We were having a little discussion beforehand with the starting screen and all that, but let's start off with an actual fitness topic.
Okay.
I asked you this before. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty before where we had no sound, but it was an unscheduled podcast anyways, so we just ended it, and we went 15 minutes in, and we weren't recording any audio. So that was our bad. But same question. Why? And I have a long explanation on my side. So I want to hear everything that you have to say about it first. Why do you think people become fat? Why if someone is obese or grossly overweight, you can pull that leg and it will stabilize it.
Oh.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
I thought you meant my leg for a second. Am I sitting bad?
No. So if someone's obese, how did they get there? What is the most common reasons, maybe some uncommon reasons? Why are people fat?
I do have to start with mindset. And obviously, other people have different circumstances. I know I dated someone in the past one time who seemed to have extremely healthy habits, and yet she was larger. But I will say, I think mindset. My parents and I have actually talked about this. Like, sometimes, myself especially, I looked in the mirror when I was at my largest, and you have this thought like, what happened? Did I ignore warning signs along the way? When I was 15 pounds overweight, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, 70 pounds. How did I get to this point, and what did I ignore, or what are my misapprehensions? And for me personally, it was, one, I really bought into a lot of the fad diets, and that's also because of how I was raised. I remember even, it was the house on Fostoria, so I must have been before 16, so maybe like 9, 10, 11 or something as early as that. We went on the Atkins diet.
Yeah, side note, well, I grew up on diets. Like, my dad's a great lawyer. He's not very good at health and nutrition, let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. And from the age of like 11, I was on I started with the Atkins diet with my dad, and we just went from there. So anyways, continue.
No, that's fine. So I believe it was one kind of the fixation with fad diets, and the fad diets, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them disagree. they say this is the way and this is the undeniable, blah blah blah, you just got to cut this out, or that didn't work for me. Or in my case with Atkins, I did lose a substantial amount of weight, but the second I got off of Atkins, it all came back real quick. And then the next fad diet says, no, actually what you should be doing is this. And I feel like it always is very bite-sized, like BYTE.
Every single one of them are also backed by scientific study and backed by science. And what what that person who published that diet, that person's a doctor or a nutrition specialist or a registered dietitian. And so they have authority in the space, so people believe them. And then they take one small fact about science and they make a whole religion out of it, which is the diet. So anyways, continue.
So funny, I'm actually gonna, for our viewership, I am currently a high school English teacher, and one of the things that I get to teach is persuasive writing and ethos, pathos, logos. There's the funny thing, I actually didn't learn those in high school myself, and I find that a lot of adults don't actually know what those are, which is fine. You probably never had to use it past your sophomore English class. But ethos would be the credibility of the author. Logos would be like the reasons or the rationale, and pathos obviously being the emotional manipulation. What I always tell my kiddos is that advertisements and marketing always try to hit you with the pathos, which is definitely, get you to feel very disgruntled and dissatisfied with your lot in life. And if you are...
My name is Sarah McLaughlin.
That's the exact ad that I use. I always show that one, and the kids, because they never get it the first time. And so when I show them that, it's like, if they came at you and said, give us your money for a good cause, you would immediately have your defenses up, clutch your wallet.
Right.
But when they start showing you the sad video of the puppy dog what has only one eye, you're like, take my money, take it all, I don't care. So I feel like marketers and maybe these fad diets, they definitely play into people's insecurities, their greatest vulnerability, which is their body image. So that's one of them. Hey, are you a Tubby McTubberson? Do you want to be sexy like this model that we have on our ad campaign?
They start doing the playground flirting tactics where it's like they're mean to the girls because they like them.
Basically. And then they back up by saying that they have to establish the ethos, like, I am so-and-so, Dr. so-and-so, and my research has been, and blah, 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 and it is clinically proven are famous last words. Yeah. And then they start bringing in the rationale, and so you think, yeah, I don't like being fat, and I mean, this guy clearly knows what he's talking about, and then they start to give the reasons, and you're like, that does make sense, because you don't have a framework for, not you, but like, people don't have a framework for understanding this. I didn't. And so, like, that's how they get you. And I don't think that they have nefarious intents. I think they are trying to help people. But the one thing that I think has been missing, myself especially, has been a lack of understanding of my body and what food does to my body. And I think the first time that I really started thinking about this was I was having some digestive issues. I've actually always had those. And I was just getting so angry. I couldn't seem to eat anything without having this massive acid reflux where like stuff was coming back, and I was like, it just made me upset. I was like, why can't I eat? Just freaking eat. Can't even do that right, apparently. And a cousin of mine had said that she had gone through a very similar process, and she had done an elimination diet and tried to narrow down, and I don't remember the full scope of it, but what she had found was that she didn't have an allergy necessarily to certain foods, but certain foods produce like histamines or antihistamines.
She has an intolerance.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
So, but she had to figure that out for herself, and she had gone through the rigmarole of all of the different tests that other doctors had done, and the prick tests where they prick you, and the blood tests, and all of it was coming back inconclusive. And I think like her liver enzymes were also really high, which was an issue that I was having and still continue to have. So that was how we got on the topic, where she said, I had to figure out what foods do to my body specifically, and that's something I never knew. I had no clue what my body, how my body responded to certain foods.
You thought poison was poison, and good food was good food.
Yeah, the kale is good, the fried chicken's bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered the question. I do still have more fuel. One of the things for me that also
just to refocus, I'm going to repeat the question. Why do you think that, and I'm going to narrow the scope down to Americans, the USA Americans. So, because there's other Americans, like Mexico is Americans.
Yeah.
But United Staters.
United Staters.
North Americans. So, why do you think that obesity is so high, and why, like for the general individual that asks the question, why am I fat?
First,
how did it get there?
First, lack of information, lack of education. I think people just don't know what their body is supposed to do and how food is supposed to impact their body. Two, I do believe here in America, what do we want to call it? Like a microwave culture. We like our instant results. So when someone is able to appeal to something that feels more instantaneous, we go for it. So I think that's definitely part of it. So when we go on the social media, so when we go on like social media and things of that nature, and we see the sculpted guy and he says, if you want abs like this, yeah, you want to look like this, then you should just do this. And you say, okay. And then you throw out your pantry and you supply it with whatever he told you to buy. So I think that's part of it. I also feel like there's a bit of a cultural battle with obesity that I don't feel we've hit a good stride with it. On the one hand, we definitely had the I don't know what to call it, like the exercise crazes of like the 70s and 80s where it was jazzercise and you have stick people saying you should look like me, this is the standard of beauty. But now I think we've swung.
The 70s VHS videos are like
jazzercise people in leotards.
Yeah, leotards.
And
they're just cracked out.
I hadn't thought of that, but they probably are.
Oh my gosh, have you ever seen one of those videos where like look at their faces and they're just like the entire time?
Key and Peele did a funny sketch about that.
Yeah,
Key and Peele's awesome. But I feel like the pendulum has swung so much farther and wrong in the opposite direction, where we have, body positivity is a good thing, but the fat acceptance movement, I have my questions about it. Like there was a time I went to pick something up from an old coworker, something I'd left at a previous job I had to go get, and I just gorged myself at a buffet, and my shirt was like starting to peel up, and I was like, oh shit. It's like, I'm not feeling so good about myself. And I made like it was a self-deprecating comment, and my previous colleague was like, shame on you, how dare you put yourself down? I'm like, you didn't see, I was being a total pig, and this isn't the ideal. This isn't like, oh, I'm beautiful and I'm healthy right now. I've just pulverized my body. So I feel like all of those factors create this problem.
I think the whole body shaming movement, the anti-body shaming movement, there is good intentions in some of the people that are enforcing that, but there's not so good intentions in some of the people that are enforcing that. Like, some people are just trying to appeal to the largest demographic in the United States, which is
the largest demographic.
Yes,
sorry,
but I'm not trying to make fun.
I know,
but I also know that the people that are the public voice for like this shape is healthy when it's obviously not, and it's not healthy because of the fact of 95% of all chronic diseases is you're gonna get them if you're over a certain fat percentage. And then let's say somebody is 45% fat as their fat percentage, and they're like, this is healthy, it's a mindset, it's a feeling. No, it's not. It's not at all. But they're saying that so that they can sell something to them. They can say that so they can sell their magazines, they can sell their new clothing line that is for obese people. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart or out of and the people that are buying into it are the people that are in the gross acceptance stage of being obese, saying I am a fat person and there's nothing I can do about it. They truly believe that there's nothing that they can do about it. And it's for various reasons. It's for, let's say, they believe that genetics are a major cause of obesity and they were just born fat and there's nothing they can do about it. It's not the diet that they're participating in. It's not the lack of activity. It's not anything like that. No, it's genetics.
I always hear that with metabolism. Oh, we just have bad metabolism in this family.
But the thing is, it's also not their fault. And this is, I know that I'm kind of butting in to your response a little bit, but this is part of our response to it. It is the lack of information. It is the ignorance. Everyone says ignorance is an offensive word. It just means you don't know something.
Literally, yeah.
Everyone
it's
is
the same as incompetence. It means that I am not competent at something yet.
Everyone gets like, oh, don't call me that. That's an offense. No, everyone is ignorant in something. Like, I don't know nuclear physics. I'm ignorant in nuclear physics.
There's a reason I teach English, not math.
Yeah. For example, when I was in college, I made 99 pluses on every single calculus, trigonometry, geometry, calculus 1 through 3, advanced calculus, pre-calculus. Where I died down was physics because I started bringing words into it. But also I was going into the homeless stage of my college career, and I actually had to drop out that year. But if I would actually been in a good situation and applied myself to physics, I probably would have been fine. Made 99s. I think I made a 98 in Chem 1, 99 in Chem 2. I'm a science dude. I'm a science and math dude. I can't spell worth a shit. I cannot spell. My buddy Tyler. I'm getting a little off topic here, but my buddy Tyler, I'll be texting him, and he's like, "That is not in any capacity," because I spelled guaranteed. And then I corrected myself and still spelled it wrong, but I was confident about it. He's like, that is not in any capacity the two ways you spell guaranteed.
So you can voice to text. It catches all my spelling errors because it just Siri spells for me now.
Well, yeah, maybe. Because I also have Shrek thumbs. So, but no, I can't spell worth a crap. And I also learned different languages. I'm half fluent in Spanish, and I'm becoming half fluent in Japanese, but I still can't spell. I'm incompetent, not ignorant, because I've been. I think that's the difference. I am incompetent in spelling, and I'm okay with that. That's a fact. It's not an opinion. It's not a feeling. It's a fact. Which rounds me back to health is health. Mm-hmm. You're in a healthy state. If you are in a certain fat percentage, a certain activity level, and a certain muscle mass. Mm-hmm. In those three categories, there's other categories. If you have cancer and you have all those, then you're not healthy. But to prevent having cancer, lower your fat percentage. But 45% fat percentage is not healthy, and anyone trying to tell you otherwise is lying to you, and they probably have a nefarious reason for it. They're trying to sell you something, and they're trying to lie in order to appeal to you in order to make that sale. So
sometimes I wonder if people, do you know the term virtue signaling?
No.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Virtue signaling it's turned into a bit of a controversial term where people will signal their virtue by aligning themselves with a specific ideology because they want to appear to be a moral person, a much higher caliber of morality. So I just love all kinds of people, all shapes and sizes. Beauty is beauty, health is health. And you can be healthy at any size. That some people might, what they're selling isn't necessarily a product or whatever, but they are selling themselves as, look how righteous I am. I'm such a good person. I'm so accepting. And here's the thing, I think the whole beauty in the eye of the beholder, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
We all have a type, and we all have whatever. But what you're saying, and I definitely agree with this, is health isn't exactly up for debate. Maybe there's a range where you can exist healthily, but there's very clearly outside of that range on either end. You're way too thin, you have an issue, and you would do well to lose 20 pounds, and a lot of other issues that you're currently having. But that's
offensive.
It can be to some people, which I don't quite understand.
It's when science became political.
Yeah.
And articles were specifically designed, studies were specifically studied and researched and published in order to prove a marketing team's point. Mm-hmm. In order to back it. So what they would do is they would hire, if you look into who funded these studies, it's really interesting to see the trend of what's going on with that. For example, with the, I would implore you to look up who funded the 70% of obesity. So this is an actual study and was on Fox News last year. Yeah, and CNN and all that. Oprah actually talked about it too, I believe, or Kamala Harris, one of them. And I think both, actually. I think both.
Okay.
Yeah, and they said this study proves that genetics attributes to 70% of all obesity. That number, 70%, that is solid. And I even challenged ChatGPT about it too. I was like, so tell me what is the reason for obesity? And it said 70%, and it literally told me research has proven that 70%, so it is swayed that way. And so because it filters through the internet and basically is the spokesperson for all internet from 2020 and below. And so, yeah, it's crazy. It really is. But I want you to look at who funded that study. While you keep looking,
Is it Hostess? It's Debbie.
No. It's
probably, I would guess, my guess would be something in either political, healthcare, or pharmaceutical.
Pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
It was pharmaceutical. And they are actually coming up with an anti-obesity medication. They're going to be able to push it, and they're coming up with that soon. And so Big Pharma is actually the ones that funded that study so that they could justify their medication, and then they can sell it and this is crazy about this one. This will be the medication with the widest demographic ever in history. Because any age, they can give it to children. They can give it to old people. They can give it to, active agers. They can give it to anybody, any race, any gender, anybody that is over the percentile for male, 18% of body fat, and over for 24% female. Yeah.
I feel...
That's crazy. That's some bonkers.
One of the things that probably two things convolutes the issue is that there are people who have thyroid problems and glandular issues and hormonal issues, and I feel like those are the people who, and keep in mind when I say I feel like, I mean I couldn't pull out a single study, I don't know the research, but from what I have seen, those are the ones that are generally used to quell any kind of disagreement. It's like, well, hey, now I have a question about this new thing. Well, did you know that, there are people who actually, it's probably itty-bitty margin for the vast majority.
I thought this was a debate. I didn't know you were shouting.
That's why I can't stand to have conversations with people who can't. Who can't shut up and listen. And
they start getting emotional in the argument.
Or sometimes when they bait you into a conversation where you're like, oh, you didn't want a conversation. You just wanted to get me to say a certain thing so that you could shout about it. But
I have a buddy that I used to associate with that does exactly that. And it's always about something how the United States does this, and this. It's always about politics. It's always about oppression and all that. And I'm like, we're just playing a video game. What?
You saying you don't care about the big issues, man? I was You're fascist.
I was like, listen, I was asking if you want this health potion or not.
But I went to a conference back in 2019, and the speaker started off by bringing up some research, and it was fascinating. It was, I guess, again, it was 2019, and Trumpy was the president at that point, but it was actually more about Obama was the research that she brought up. And her research was saying how, on this end, Obama was the greatest American president that ever lived, and she started giving the statistics. And of course, all of us were not there for any kind of political engagement at all. So we're kind of, where is she going with this? And then she stops and she goes, switches the slide or whatever it was. And now Obama was the worst president in American history, crumbled this, that, the other. She goes, how do you function in a world where you can find enough statistical evidence to prove both sides definitively correct?
There are, I'm glad you said that, because I actually just looked up, because I saw this Facebook video, and I was like, and I was curious. And I usually don't believe most Facebooks or TikTok or whatever. I don't really get into that. But there was one where it said, there are studies that prove that coffee actually attributes to blindness. There are also studies that prove that something in coffee actually increases eyesight. Yeah. Both are true.
And this, oh God.
Proven by research.
But I think that goes right back to some of the confusion about and what leads people to not just having bad dietary habits, but thinking that they are right in doing so. Because if you can say,
I was about to ask, like, let's go back to the question: why are people fat?
I'm going to go back to microwavable Americans. Maybe not my best phrase, where we like things that are simple, easy, and digestible, and I mean information. Microwave the motherfucker.
We like to microwave Americans.
That happened in that movie Kick-Ass. It was a horrible scene. Anyway, but I think that is part of it, is marketers, and I hate using the term corporations because I think that's such a cheesy thing to say. Evil corporations.
As soon as anyone hears that, they're like, all right, hippie, move along.
I know. It's yeah. Fight the man, the establishment.
Well, actually, no, corporations are really hard to fight against.
Oh, I know.
And they have a lot to say and sway.
But I feel like they definitely appeal to people's impatience and people's desire for instant gratification and validation without necessarily having to change or reflect on some of their practices in a deeper way or understand themselves or their bodies or anything like that. So I think that's part of it. Maybe we can attribute that to a human nature type thing, culture, whatever. I feel like a lot of time marketing definitely appeals to that, because when you have so much stimulus flying at you. I mean, I tried to teach my kids about this when we were listening to the original War of the Worlds, not podcast, what do you call it? The broadcast. And I was saying, like, you know, people were, I don't know if it was a myth or if it's true, but like people were confused listening to the original War of the Worlds broadcast and thought that it was actually happening, which makes sense when you only have a couple of different media outlets. And I don't just mean, oh, I get my news from here, I get my news from here, I go to Fox or CNN. I mean, the radio just got invented. You turn it to the one station and they report, which means there was more fidelity to actually reporting the news, like as it actually happened in an objective way.
It's not a, well, it still was a private business, but it had more, what's the word? Integrity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now with so many different news outlets, and this one's like, you shouldn't listen to them over there, that's fake news, and these people are like, these people don't know what they're talking about, they're politically motivated. How do you decide what to listen to? You decide to listen to whatever fits most comfortably, that's confirmation bias, with what you currently feel. And then you get these marketers that target you right where you're already sitting, and they say, you need this. And you're like, damn right I need this. I need the fat pill.
I didn't know I needed it, but apparently I do.
I need the fat pill, or maybe I don't need the fat pill because I am beautiful the way that I is. And so I guess that's my answer. Impatience, culturally or human nature or otherwise, marketers that attack that, and therefore a lot of misinformation and miseducation about it, which, I mean, because most people know when they are putting the fork to their mouth, this is not a good choice.
You'd be surprised.
Oh, really? Oh,
you'd be surprised at the level of denial, and that's one of the categories. All right, so my turn to answer the question.
Yeah. Oh,
and you actually hit the head on the nail on two of the categories.
Nail on the head.
Yeah. Right.
Hit the head on the nail.
Slightly dyslexic, but that's okay. So that's also another reason I can't spell.
See, virtue signaling time. I've just made fun of someone with a disability. I am such a bad person.
And I, with the disability, don't give a shit.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's
wow, people cannot be offended and actually have a sense of humor? That's crazy. Anyways.
Sense of humor saves lives. So, go for it.
Back to it. All right, so why are people fat? Why are people obese? And how did they get there in the first place? I like to break it up into categories because it is a monster of a question and it's very individual based. So we're going to do the terrible thing of lumping people together. First of all, let's start at the young age. Okay. First things first is family upbringing and culture around food. So learned behaviors from their parents, from whether it's the two obese parents that are themselves ignorant about how health and food works and all that, and they're in their own thing. But we're not talking about them. We're talking about from the young age, the child. So an upbringing of culture around food. It could also be, and that's where I come from, by the way. That was my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And it can also be the single mother with 5 kids who can't afford anything but McDonald's, and it's just a culture around food that's still learned behavior, but it's from a different reason from the parents kind of doing that. Parents, whatever. So there could be multiple reasons. There could be multiple acts towards it. But first category, and I think this is, and I'm going to label these of importance. I think that's the most important one. I think that is the one that causes so many people to become overweight as adults, is learned behaviors as a child.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to break that kind of psychology, that kind of repetitive action.
I feel like most people don't even realize that it's there calling the shots.
Exactly. And they were born into that culture around food. I had a best friend back when I was 5. Okay, moved to Florida when I was 5. First dude I met, he was also 5. I wasn't making friends with 50-year-olds, but his entire family obese, and he also, like, I remember things. It stands out to me to this day when I was like 7 years old, hearing some of these things. Oh, I can't join the football team. This dude was 200 something pounds at like 11. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. He's like, no. I was like, you would not be movable. Like, you'd be a great center. Like, let's join the football team together. And he was like, oh, I can't do that because my doctor told me that if I gain muscle, it's going to fuse with the fat and make it permanent. And so that's kind of the stuff that, like, they literally believe, and they believe it from a young age. And so they don't talk about it with anybody else. And so at the age of 30, they still believe it. And so it's like, it's all these learned cultures in their child upbringing. Mm-hmm. And when you have parents that don't know what they're doing, it's not actually anyone's fault. Mm-hmm. It's a cycle. It's from generation to generation to generation, and some family lines, and that's where the 70% of all that's the mix-up. It's not genetics. There is some genes that do attribute to more fat or less fat when it comes to burning fat at what rate, or holding fat at what rate, but it's very minuscule. Like, for example, people in Alaska, they carry more fat just as a gene because it's cold outside. And they carry more fat in their face. Yeah, because their snow caps, their hoods are like this, and they just got these fat cheeks, and they don't get frostbite because of that. And so it's actually like an environmental adaptation. Sorry guys, evolution's real, but it's that evolutionary adaptation. Some people, let's say in places where there's not as much food, they also have a slower metabolism by genetics because and all that. And since the world has gone for years now, and we're having kids and we're spreading out to other countries and genes are going all over the place, everyone has like 50 different paths inside them, genetic paths. And so, yeah, there is some attribute to when it comes to genetics. That's why I, as a person, store more fat, but also gain muscle faster because I'm Scottish Viking. Like, that's it. Just am. Like, we're huge, strong people, and if we sat around too much, we got really fat. That is a factor. But the thing is, I'm not gonna blame my genetics because I'm still choosing to sit around. I'm still choosing to eat the way that I eat when I was 289 pounds, right?
Yeah.
But back to the environmental, that is actually where that mix-up happens and why that study was proven. Because they took family lines and they went about 10 generations deep. and they're saying, oh, this family was all obese. 70% of them was all obese. And this happened repeatedly. And they thought it was because of genetics. Okay. It's not. It's actually family culture.
Okay.
But
that makes sense.
Same result. So if you're in that family, not because of genetics just help it, but mainly because of family culture. And that's one of the things that peeves me a little bit, because someone will bring up that study and like, because they think they know what they're talking about, and I'll just be like, oh, you fool.
Because it's easy. It's more convenient. Because if you were to say,
it's a scapegoat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna make a comparison. I have had numerous alcoholics in my family lineage, and I have gotten into so many arguments with some of the people in my family when they say it's genetic. That's a really good way to remove your own responsibility for your actions, just to say, well, my uncle was, and his brother was, and this person was, and my father, and whoever, going up the chain, and say, therefore I am helpless, therefore I am powerless. And maybe there is some kind of predisposition to that. That's where the denial comes in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, I can't help it because it's just in my genes.
Yeah.
By the way, to the viewership, if I, or Tim, that I speak for myself, have said anything ignorant, which is eminently possible, don't crucify me for it, just educate me. It's fine. And don't get so offended by everything. But you wouldn't, because I love you. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyways. So that's one category. Mm-hmm. All right, so family culture around food. Second category. What takes advantage of that is what you've already talked about, is the marketing teams that are not even just like big corporations, but even like TikTokers. I'm talking about down to, let's do the whole range real quick, down to the 12-year-old that knows how to make TikToks. And I've seen this literally. It's like it was some well-made video that was eye-catching, and was like 3 workouts that I bet you're doing that is not helping you whatsoever. And one of them was the Arnold press, where you take dumbbells and you take dumbbells and you put them in front of your face, and then you put them over your head. And he's like, there's no tendon up here, so that therefore you're not actually doing anything. And there was 6,900 likes on it, and then all this praise. It's like, oh my God, you're so young, you know what you're doing. And I came in there, I was like, you do not know what you're doing. Stop spreading this stuff. I know you're not going to, because it's getting you millions of views.
Of course.
And yeah, and so it's down from there. I have clients right now. I have a specific client that I'm thinking of, who sends me TikToks. It's like, hey, is this a good mobility exercise for my ankles? Or hey, is this a good one for my hips? Or hey, is this a good one for my biceps?
At least he's vetting it through you.
Yeah. At least he's vetting. And I'm just like, stop it. Just stop.
Yeah.
Stop it. And so there's that side of the spectrum. And then there's, let's say, the middle side of the spectrum, where it's the fad diets, or these well-renowned diets, like the latest one, I almost said Atkins, but the keto diet. And then you see keto muffins, like keto pancakes. Like, listen, side note, do you know what the keto diet was initially invented for? Mentally disabled people.
Oh.
Yeah. So the keto diet puts you down on ketones, and you're actually sharper during that because your brain is working off ketones. And it actually did improve people with autism, Asperger's, dementia, Parkinson, like all these things. And it was designed for them. But they had to even watch what toothpaste that they used for the chance of having a 0.0001 gram of sugar. That is no carbs, none. And I had a client, her name was Susan, and she was like, well, I peed on my stick and it didn't turn purple, so I'm still in ketosis. So I've been in ketosis for a few hours. I'm gonna have my muffins, and then I'll be back in ketosis by the end of the night. I'm like, listen, first of all, you have to be in ketosis for 2 weeks straight to fully be in ketosis. Like, That's a bunch of malarkey. And I know some people that if whenever we get larger and people come back and watch this, they're going to have a problem with this. I'm going to tell you that right now because they are so into their denial.
I gave the disclaimer. Yeah. Don't get so offended.
Well, it's just going to happen because there are some people that are diehards about their diet because it worked for them and they're losing all this weight, but it's probably 1 pound of fat per 1 pound of muscle. And so their fat percentage is either staying the same or going up while they're losing fat and muscle and becoming a smaller version of what they are already. It's called being skinny fat. And so they're dieting before exercise instead of exercise before diet. And while diet does control more of your progress, you have to exercise and lift weights to gain muscle in order to up your muscle count and lower your fat percentage. And you don't have to get huge about it either. Women are like, if I touch this dumbbell, I'm going to become a Russian Helga bodybuilder overnight. No, you're not. It's all these fears and stigmas around dieting and around, it's just basically what the marketing category does. And I put marketing as a wide spectrum from the 11-year-old TikTokers to the professionals who take one minute, even part of a study and said, hey, this is a study. It's been proven. This is a fact. And they make a religion out of it.
It is. Yeah. It does have like a religious type mindset.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like, and not saying either way towards Christianity, but it's like, because there's so many different spectrums of Christianity, each one of them takes like one part of the Bible and runs with it.
Mm-hmm. But as far as like those, how would you call it? Not like diet, but just the people who latch onto a specific kind of lifestyle. No, it is very religious in nature. This is the only way. Yeah. Shame the non-believer.
So the word in the fitness space is a camp. It's very campy.
Oh.
I think I breathed in one of my mustache hairs.
Could be.
I think I did, for real. Anyways. Okay. Yeah, no, it's called a camp. Like the CrossFit camp or the powerlifting camp. There's also the keto camp and the Atkins camp. And so they get like super campy about it. That's what people in the fitness space call it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like basically a cult. Yeah. So that's the second category. And so that is also something that majorly affects, and not as much as family upbringing, but it does majorly affect it. Next. And this also, and all of this attributes to each one, and it builds, like building blocks. It's the ignorance around what to actually do. And
the
spread of malinformation through the second category of marketing and all that. The spread of true information, but it's only partly true. And then just people that aren't like us, who they put money first in like professionals in the fitness space. They put money first before helping people. And so I'd rather, instead of helping one person for $1 million, I'd rather help a million people for $1. Does that make sense?
It does. Who said that? That's an actual quote from someone.
It is a quote, and I'm going to have to...
like Carnegie or Rockefeller or something?
Possibly.
That could be way off. Anyway, keep going. But I know that I've heard that before.
And so they're skewing in order, because like I'm going to tell you right now, the right way to lose fat and gain muscle isn't sexy. It's not. Like I told you in the workout gym, in the gym today, I was like, hey, so for the rest of the month, we're going to be working on basically the same 4 exercises for a month. Mm-hmm. And we meet 4 days a week. And yeah.
Oh, math.
Yeah. So think about that for a sec. Why are we doing that? It's because we want to get good at a skill. We don't want to, there's no reason to go outside of that for this month. We're just doing pure strength this month. and we're just trying to gain muscle. Next month, we're doing a cut. Yeah. And so it's simple as that.
Remind me and the viewership, what's a cut?
A cut is when you're in a deficit, and a caloric deficit where your calories are lower than your energy needs. And so you burn fat. But if you do that without bulking and you constantly are in a cut, you're going to lose muscle. And it's literally a pound per pound. A pound of fat with a pound of muscle. So you lose 2 pounds, it was only 1 pound fat. And it was also 1 pound muscle. And so your fat ratio stays the same. And your fat ratio actually controls what you look like. So you can still look like a pear if you lose 30 pounds. Supposed to be a smaller pear.
Yeah.
Instead of a Dorito.
Want to be a Dorito.
Yeah, you want to be a Dorito. So, malinformation, misinformation, and just pure ignorance. That's the third category. And there is a fourth category in my mind. And that is...
witchcraft.
No. So, the fourth category is the belief that they don't have time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of the other categories, the 3 other categories before it, they see that as one big monster. And they're like, shit, I got 3 kids, a mortgage, 2 jobs, and a wife to take care of. Like, I ain't got time for this. When, honestly, if you just went one day a week for 30 minutes, one day a week, 30 minutes, I don't care who you are. Everyone has it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's at your own house, and you just try to do 5 push-ups, 5 squats, and you actually try during that 30 minutes, you actually try to get good at something in this fitness thing. That will actually help you in the long run phenomenally. Even if it's just 30 minutes a week, that's it. Like, that is better than doing nothing. But people don't think that. It's an all or nothing mentality. And they're like, well, if I can't get ripped with abs and lift 500 pounds, then why bother? Well, it's because it's like taking a multivitamin. It really is. If it's that small amount, it will help in the long run with mood, hormones, energy levels. Yeah. You'll lose some weight, and you will be a little bit stronger because you're actually doing some push-ups. You're actually doing some squats. You're doing some sit-ups. You're doing some rows. You're doing some pull-ups. Whether it's like pseudo pull-ups with your foot on the ground. Either way, you're still activating and stimulating muscle on a regular basis and communicating with your CNS. So it's something. You know what I mean? Just 30 minutes. That's it. And then most of the time, if you try out that 30 minutes, that's probably gonna spread. You're probably gonna be like, you know what? I did find this 30 minutes on Mondays. I could probably do this on Fridays too. Mm-hmm. And then that 30 minutes turns into an hour. And then you're working out 2 hours a week, which is enough actually to do something.
Oh yeah.
2 hours a week. That's it. That's enough to start gaining muscle. If you do a full body workout, you're lifting heavy shit, and then you're eating in a way that is actually good for you and gonna fill out those blueprints that you're writing up during that workout, you're gonna gain some muscle, you're gonna change your metabolism, you're gonna lose fat, and you're gonna be a much happier, healthier being just out of 2 hours a week. Mm-hmm. But most people think they don't have time. And out of the 7 years, and I once trained a millionaire. He owned 16 different businesses. He became a millionaire by buying businesses. This dude was working up until 4 a.m., getting up at 7 a.m., and just blast off. From the time he woke up to the time, I'm talking 16 businesses to manage. He has 3 kids, a wife, freaking 4-story house. It's like, this dude's insane. And his name is also Tim. And he was my client. He came in, he's like, dude, I gotta do something because I'm feeling like shit. He's like, I'm 37 and I feel like I'm 60 and I'm gonna break. I'm gonna die. I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I tried doing like some CrossFit. I was like, that is not what you should be doing. like not because CrossFit's bad. It's because, one, you don't know what you're doing, and two, that's why it's bad. And two, your energy level, like expenditure, is up here. We need to do some very zenful, low level, relaxing lifting for your workout.
Yeah.
Whatever your work capacity is outside of lifting, outside of exercise, it needs to reflect the opposite. So if you are a couch potato all day and you don't do anything, honestly, you could do anything. You could do CrossFit. You could do the hyper stuff, and it'd be fine. But if your stress level is like up here, nah, dude, you need to do 5x5 lifting of one exercise. One. Like we did today. We did 5x5, a bench press. And it took an hour. We did some other stuff too. But you told me you were stressed out. I'm sorry, by the way, that I'm coughing so much. I'll try to edit them out. But I still feel that mustache hair. It's in the back of my throat.
It's the Rona.
No, I'm not sick. It's literally, I feel a hair in the back of my throat. I'm just like, ah. But the podcast shall go on. But literally, like, you were stressed out today. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do some zenful lifting. And it is zenful. Like, if you're trying to do a deadlift and you're trying to pick up hundreds of pounds, I'm going to tell you what you're not thinking about. Anything other than that deadlift. you are focused. And so that's the kind of stuff that people got to think about. Like, when it comes to, and back to the time management. And I just went down a rabbit hole of someone starting the exploration, what's good for the average Joe, and what they should be thinking about when they're trying to explore that new avenue of life, which is how to be good at fitness. And you can start from scratch. If you're not lifting, you don't know anything, one, do it, like, listen to podcasts like this, go onto the website, personaltrainerandcompany.com. There's a lot of free information. There's a $25 workout PDF that is perfect for you. The at-home no gym workout plan. That'll be perfect. And then you just take that. You look up on the fitness video on the workout library what the exercises are supposed to look at. You try to become healthier. That's it. 15 minutes twice a week. That's what you should start with. And if you don't want to work out, just schedule walks. That's it. And then it'll grow from there. So that's my 4 categories about why people are fat. And it's not in a judgmental way. I used to be 289 pounds. I used to be in that category. And so I can talk from experience. And there are exceptions. There are the thyroid, hypothyroid, hyperthyroid. There are the diabetics, and diabetes is a result, type 2, as a result of, it's a complex thing that it's a result of, but the biggest thing is the overuse of simple sugars, the overuse of simple carbohydrates. And so they're getting these high insulin spikes with high glucose spikes, but then also the crashes, but the insulin doesn't crash with the glucose. And so it's free riding. And it's like, hey, we were expecting some more glucose right here, so where's that? Whereas complex carbs, it does more of an arc, and so the insulin arcs perfectly with it. And so if that happens too much over years, your pancreas is like, hey, shut that shit down, man. We don't need all this insulin, and then it stops producing it. So that's a very layman's terms way to put it. But well, for more knowledge, the more you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think of that?
Yes. One thing that came to mind that is not fitness related, but related to some of the issues that you were saying about people not having enough time. Not to be harsh, but I do frequently kind of want to ask these people. Like,
it's also like, where do their priorities lie?
I mean, that's part of it also, but if you find yourself so busy that you cannot find the time in your schedule for your own health, then mightn't you have some other issues that need to be addressed? Whether it's, I mean, your life is clearly out of balance in some regards, so what is causing that?
Well, they also are looking at their energy level at that moment and thinking that working out is this great big energy spender, and they're like, I don't have the energy for that. Like when they don't realize that their energy system will improve and they'll actually have more daily energy if they just spent that 15 minutes twice a week. It'll increase and they'll feel better, and it'll turn into, they will change in a positive way, and it affects way more than just like becoming super ripped. It's such a beautiful transformation and like avenue for somebody to just start exercising. And exercising does not mean going for a jog. I mean, yes, that's an exercise, but I'm talking about learn the skill of a bench press. Just try that one small goal. That's it. Just spend both 15 minutes twice a week just learning the skill of a bench press. That's it. And that will actually give you more energy to increase that. And you're going to notice a big difference. Every single client I've ever had, the first thing they notice is like, I feel amazing. They're like, oh, I was not expecting this. Yeah. Hormones, energy levels, everything gets way better. Anyways, continue.
Oh no, that was just it. The idea that, and I do think that is very much a Western, maybe even America, United Statesian type thing. That's 26.
Okay.
But yeah, like a Statesian, United Statesian type thing where it's the rise and grind type culture where like if you're not moving forwards, you're moving backwards, which means every single second of your day must be occupied doing something. And like I hear about the guy who you were saying he's a millionaire and he has 16 businesses, and I think, wow, that's quite an accomplishment. 3 hours of sleep, huh? Okay.
With
like
3
surely
kids.
There are other ways of making money. In fact, I know there are. I know people who have done so, and they aren't maxed out quite like that. Yeah,
he is stretched thinner than a crepe.
Good analogy.
Versus a pancake. All right, so I'm gonna end we're gonna end the podcast right here. I want to mention for the third time. I know that ads are terrible, but deal with me. That there is workout PDFs at personaltrainerandcompany.com. It's in the description below. If you're on YouTube, it's the first link, personaltrainerandcompany.com/workouts. And if you're in in one of these categories where you don't know where to start, those PDFs are going to be a good place to start. If you're wanting real training, as in like in-person training, you want to talk to me and we have a conversation. Consultations are free. You can book an appointment anytime at personaltrainerandcompany.com. So we're going to make more of these podcasts, and I really enjoy them. I think this was our best podcast yet.
Oh yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, this was very on topic.
Well, I didn't even get to talk about Michael Keaton's Batman.
The last 3 podcasts, which they are worth listening to, but the last 3 podcasts we kind of went all over the place. I like coming to the podcast with like a major question like this. And so we're going to continue that trend. So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Send us some messages. We're live on Facebook it's PT&C, PTANDC. It's a personal trainer and company. We're live on YouTube and we're live on Twitch. For anyone watching on Twitch, I believe we have a few viewers right now. Thank you for joining in and give us a follow. Subscribe on YouTube and join the group on Facebook.